every project fights over the same people. The PMs who win that fight use a system most never learn. Two project managers just walked into your boss's office. Both of them need your best developer for the next 3 weeks. One has a client deadline that cannot move. The other has a product launch tied to $1 million marketing campaign. Your boss looks at you and says, "Figure it out." Resource conflicts are the silent killer of projects, morale, and sometimes entire careers. In this video, I'll walk you through a practical 5-phase framework that turns ugly standoffs into clean, professional decisions. Most resource conflicts don't start as emergencies. They start as tiny overlaps that nobody bothers to flag. A designer gets pulled into a quick side project that was only supposed to take 2 days. A developer starts splitting time between 2 sprints and both teams assume they have full access. These small splits compound quietly until someone misses a deadline and the blame game begins. The best project managers treat their resource calendar like a weather radar. They scan 2 to 3 weeks ahead, looking for overlapping commitments before they collide. At companies like Spotify, squad leads run weekly capacity checks not out of paranoia, but because catching a conflict on Monday is dramatically easier than cleaning up the wreckage on Friday. Set a 15-minute weekly ritual where you review every team member's commitments against upcoming deadlines. That single habit prevents most of the chaos before it ever starts. When a conflict actually surfaces, your gut tells you to start negotiating immediately. Resist that urge completely. Before you talk to anyone, build a simple resource map on paper or a whiteboard. Write down every person involved, what exactly they're working on, their actual available hours, and the hard deadlines attached to each task. Most managers skip this step and jump straight into horse trading favors with other leads. That's how you end up with a solution that fixes one problem but quietly breaks 2 others downstream. A resource map reveals things that emotions and assumptions always hide. Maybe one project only needs your developer for 12 focused hours, not 3 full weeks of dedicated availability. Maybe a contractor or someone from a quieter team could cover one workstream while your full-timer handles the critical path. I've watched resource conflicts dissolve completely once someone finally wrote down the real numbers. The conflict felt massive in the meeting room, but the data showed it was a scheduling puzzle with a surprisingly clear answer. Now comes the conversation that most people genuinely dread. You sit down with the competing stakeholders and lay out the reality from your resource map. Not your opinion, not your gut feeling, the actual data. Frame it as a shared problem, never as a turf war. Say something like, "We have 1 senior developer and 2 critical deadlines, so let's figure out the best path together." Never tell a stakeholder that their project is less important, even when it clearly is. McKinsey's research on organizational health shows that collaborative problem-solving during resource disputes actually strengthens cross-team relationships over time. Give each person a voice, but anchor every part of the conversation in business impact. Which project has a contractual deadline that triggers penalties? Which one directly affects revenue this quarter? Which delay would damage a client relationship beyond repair? When people see the full picture laid out honestly, they usually become far more flexible than you expected. The real key is making stakeholders feel genuinely heard before you ever ask them to compromise. Sometimes you simply cannot resolve it at your level, and that's perfectly okay. 2 vice presidents both insist their project is the top priority and neither one will budge. That's when you escalate, but never walk in empty-handed. Bring your resource map, the trade-off options you already explored, and one clear recommendation. Executives genuinely hate being handed a raw problem with no proposed solution attached to it. They respect the person who says, "Here are 3 options, here is what I recommend, and here is exactly why." A PMI study found that projects with clear escalation paths resolve resource conflicts significantly faster than those relying on informal back-channel negotiations. Structure your escalation like a 1-page brief with 3 sections, the conflict described plainly, the measurable impact of doing nothing, and 2 or 3 options ranked by business value. Your credibility as a project manager lives and dies in these escalation moments. Show up thoroughly prepared and leadership will trust you with even harder calls next time around. Solving one resource conflict feels satisfying in the moment. But if you're solving the exact same type of conflict every single month, you don't have a conflict problem, you have a system problem. The smartest project managers I've worked with build lightweight prevention systems that run quietly in the background. A shared resource calendar visible to every project lead across the organization. A monthly capacity planning meeting where upcoming resource demands get surfaced weeks before they ever collide. A simple priority framework that the leadership team agrees to before any conflicts even happen. At Atlassian, teams use what they call a priority stack rank every quarter. Leadership ranks the top initiatives in order, and when resource conflicts come up, the stack rank decides automatically. No drama, no politics, no exhausting debates in conference rooms. Just a pre-agreed order that everyone already signed off on months ago. You don't need expensive software to start doing this tomorrow. A shared spreadsheet showing who is allocated where, updated every single Monday morning, prevents more conflicts than any enterprise resource planning tool ever built. Here is your one action for today. Open a blank document right now and list every person on your team alongside what they are committed to for the next 2 weeks. Just write it all down in one place. You will probably spot at least one overlap that you didn't know existed until this moment. Fix that one overlap today while it's still small and completely manageable. That's how resource management actually works in practice, not through big dramatic executive meetings, but through small, consistent acts of visibility. If this framework changed how you think about resource conflicts, hit subscribe for more practical project management strategies. I'll see you in the next one. That's a wrap, thanks for watching. If this gave you one idea you can use today, hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.